Hey guys, sorry for a bit of a late start. Just getting things organised here after a few days off. Apologise if you were trying to log in yesterday and couldn't. As same. There's a public holiday here in Australia, and I was a little bit tied up, I'm afraid. Okay, let's start the week then, shall we? With a brief look at Forex Factory and see what news events are taking place around the world today. And then we'll come back and have a look at that little market indicator. All right, it's Tuesday, January 29th. Let's stay on the week, as it were. And we had both Draghi and Carney speaking yesterday. They certainly didn't do any damage to the euro or the pound, euro in particular, going gangbusters in the last few days. We'll take a look at that in the tick. Just hang on 2 secs. Okay, as I said, that was yesterday. Today, what has happened thus far? Well, we've had Swissy trade bumps, which wasn't too flash. We've had Australian business confidence coming out of the National Australia Bank. I was reading an article on that not long ago that suggested that didn't suggest these numbers weren't accurate. It was talking about a completely different set of numbers, and I'm just completely unaware of what they are. I think the article, it was actually on Forex Factory. Let's go and have a look at that. Just briefly, yeah, I'll go in here. So the numbers are 3 and 3. So previous three posted, but this guy here is talking. The National Australian Business Conditions Index contains broader business confidence survey tumbled to +2 points in December, down sharply from +11 points in November. I've got no idea what he's talking about. Absolutely no idea, because the numbers posted were previous, which I assume was November, and in relation to November, and this one, which was in relation to December, are both the same. So look, I'm a bit in the dark there, and I can't really steer you in a direction as to whether that should aid or hurt the Aussie. Currently, the Aussie enjoying a little bit of a rally as well. I probably tend to ignore it at this point until that becomes clear. It's only a minor import anyway, so I guess we're not going to get too carried away with it. I'm going to treat that as neutral to be fair, and not worry about it too much. In fact, I do have a couple of orders on the euro, the Aussie, that we'll have a look at in due course. I keep losing my secondary screen, folks, so apologies for the little pauses here. Somewhat annoying. Grrr. Okay, let's see if I can fix it. Right, there we go. Got it sorted. Okay, so that's that for the Aussie. We're going to treat that as neutral. We've got only really one major event, according to Forex Factory, coming up this day, and that's at 3 o'clock GMT, where we look at CB, Consumer Confidence, which is the conference board. I'm not going to be around trading at that time, but that will be interesting to see what the consumer confidence is around the US dollar at the moment, given all things that are happening over there with government shutdowns, which of course are now over temporarily, perhaps. We've also got China talks, etc., etc., etc. You know, Trump's never got a dull moment, of course. So I don't think I'm going to be too affected by news today, so I'm good to go in terms of what I feel should be traded. Let's have a look at the market conditions over the past 48 hours firstly, and you can see that the euro is indeed having a good old time of it in the last couple of days. Pound not so much, seems to have come off its highs. Dollar yen has also done the same, although that's been in decline, so it's well and truly off its highs. Dollar Swissy around about a line ball today, but off in the past 48 hours. Aussie yen is it's going south. I won't say it's tumbling, and Aussie US dollar is a little bit off as well, although it has been going well prior to that. Kiwi is still on fire, and good news again. I think it was yesterday that the Kiwi had good news. Let me just check on that. Trade bumps was pretty damn good. So, certainly better than previous, no doubt about that. That wouldn't hurt the Kiwis stocks at all, one wouldn't have thought. Okay, so any conclusions to draw from what the market's doing? Let's see if we can get a handle on this. We've got weak dollar, weak against the stronger against the pound, and the Aussie weak against the Kiwi. So we definitely can ride across this strong Kiwi. I've only got a couple of yen crosses up here, but it looks like, in fact, I've got three. Looks like the yen is doing well. Are we in a risk-off mentality? That's the question I'm asking myself. I don't know, but it's certainly looking a little bit that way. All right, so strong yen, weak pound, strong Kiwi, and strong euro. That's how we're going into this session. I'll look at it. Let's just check the last 4 hours and see if that makes any difference. Still got a strong euro. Pound is coming back. Dollar yen's come back. Dollar Swissy's still off. Aussie's fighting back in the last few hours. Kiwi still strong. So pound and Aussie, maybe the dollar's come off a little bit by the look of that. So the strength of yesterday or earlier looks as though it's not following through. All right, I'll take that on board as I have a look at the charts, and let's do that now. I do have a couple of orders, as I said, on the Aussie. Now I've got one on the daily chart. I'm trading this candle here. I'm trading the breakout, if you like, of this trend line. That's just one of my standard candles that I like to trade in situ, and it is in a nice situ on that resistance trend line. I've got a TP1 before the extreme high, or the previous swing high, if you like, and I'm okay with that. We'll get safe in the markets as quick as we can, and so I don't have that much confidence in the Aussie. But if you have a look at this chart where we've got that big reversal bar, which, as I keep saying, was an emotive move, or certainly the move down was an emotive move. I can't even remember what, but it's there, and certainly we've come back into this range that we started establishing back in September. False break to the high side, now false break to the low side. This is a higher low, most definitely. Big bullish engulfing bar. Nice opportunity to trade the bounce off monthly pivot here if we get the opportunity. So I wasn't really happy with the entry here as the best entry, if you like. I'm happy with where it is, but I think there's probably a better opportunity to get into the Aussie. So I also traded this morning on the 4-hour chart, which is this trade. That doesn't look like that trade. How intriguing, but it is. 72.04 is the other entry. It'll be about the same. 72.04. I think I've got the same one up. Okay, so let me just describe this to you. So the 4-hour trade is a different kettle of fish, but same entry. It's actually trading this bar here. No, that is the right parameters. Okay, all good. So I'm trading a little break or an approach, if you like, of the same. It really is the same trend line, but I just wanted to take profit earlier on this one, and that's why I've really scaled this in, I suppose, before we're even in the trade. So I'm trading daily charts, a break at the same place, and I'm trading the 4-hour chart as a break at the same place. I've aggregated my risk to 0.25%, and obviously my risk is much higher on the 4-hour chart because I'm trading this candle versus I think it's probably down here somewhere, the other stop loss. Entries, if you want to have a look at it, both at 72.04, so 0.7204, with a stop loss of 65 pips. This is the daily one we're looking at. This is the daily trade, 65 pips on the daily, and we're taking profit. First profit at 25 pips, and we're going to close a little bit more than half of that and let the rest run. The 4-hour entry, I'll have to give it to you because I can't see it on my charts. The entry is exactly this. Actually, I think it's 72.05. Let me just correct. No, it's not. 72.04 is the same entry. The stop loss on this one, however, is at 71.85. So there's only 19 pips of stop loss on this one. And our first take profits, if I recall correctly, is 15 pips. Wish I could see it on this chart. You would. Yeah, it's about there somewhere. So 15 pips is the TP1 on the 4-hour trade. Let's see how they go. There's probably a case for actually entering on the 1-hour chart as well. If I go back and have a look, that's if you're at all bullish the euro, of course. And the entry there was probably above this bar, maybe targeting the daily pivot. I didn't take that one, but yeah, I can absolutely see why you would want to, as a bounce off the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot. I think that's probably a reasonable trade to have taken if you're trading that time of day. Down to 17 pip risk, and you've got 1-to-1 to the daily pivot. You haven't got there, of course, about a pip and a half short. If you're watching that, probably a good idea to have taken the profit. We'll see how that pans out. At this stage, that looks like a reasonable trade to have taken. So they're the Aussie crosses. The interesting part today, of course, as we go back to the Forex factory, is our good old friend Theresa May and her trials and tribulations in front of Parliament. Why can't I find this? There it is. Now we've got a time frame on this. If you're interested, I did suss this out, and if you're interested in when these votes are actually taking place, say to stay a little bit wide of the market at those times, there are apparently 19 amendments to, I guess, what was Plan B last week. And the Speaker of the House will, at 1300 GMT, so that is what, about 5 hours from now, 5 hours and 14 minutes from now, Speaker of the House will select the 6 most popular of those amendments for debate and vote. So at 1300 GMT, 5 hours from now, there'll be 6 popular amendments out of 19 chosen by the Speaker for debate and vote, and the vote will take place at 1900 GMT, so 10 hours from now. And that's supposed to take about 15 minutes per amendment, so an hour and a half, if you like. So that's going to be a fair wait. If you're willing to trade into that, then happy days for you. I think I'll be okay staying out. But you can start to get observant, if you like, around about the, I don't know, 1900 GMT mark, somewhere between 1300 and 1900 as they debate what is and what isn't. Gee, I wish it was over. I would say I'm up to here with it, but there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So that is not even on here as I see it. Why not? It's silly, isn't it? Maybe because they didn't know the time. But you can take it as read that there will be this vote taking place today, according to the article I read in the not too distant past. All right, let's leave Forex Factory aside for now and go back to the charts, where we see the Aussie coming back off. Pardon me. Do I want to trade Aussie yen this week? I had an absolute. Well, it started out okay on Aussie yen last week. We were trading for free off this entry, and we got our TP1 no problem. But our amended stop loss got, well, our trailing stop loss was hit by 1 pip, I believe. So we missed out on the rest of that down to the target area. But we did get in again and didn't get a TP1 and got bashed up here on the second attempt. I also traded it long, I think, on a 30-minute chart during one of the evening sessions. So I was all over Aussie yen last week, but unfortunately it got the better of me and didn't do so well. Out of all of that, do I have an opinion this week? Well, I've just been through the market's relative strengths, if you like, as read by me, and it appears the yen is a little bit more solid, and the Aussie is also looking to go north, again, in my opinion. So I'm thinking range here again. I'm still thinking range, and I'm more than happy to trade the range. I'm more than happy to trade from top to bottom, bottom to top. But at this point in time, I don't really see that clearly, although I do see a re-entry back into the range and a potential retest of the top of the range, daily pivot, weekly pivot. So that doesn't look so bad. If I could test the daily pivot here and put in a reversal bar, which this may or may not do on the 4-hour chart, that may interest me again to go short Aussie yen. It is interesting. Still a little bit rangy though. I'm still thinking range. And again, as I say, happy to trade it down to the bottom of the range. I'm not trading any breakouts at this point, although I may leave a little bit open just so in case this does disappear to the downside. But I'll look for that. We might even go to the 30-minute chart and see if that's at all possible to trade. Already you're looking at a series of lower highs here, off the double top, lower high, nice entry there, lower high, nice entry there, lower high, not such a great bar this time. So the daily pivot test actually puts in a higher high, doesn't it? I should be looking at this and going, inverted head and shoulders coming up here. He's probably right, but I don't see the charts the same way he does. Sometimes I do. He'll be back with us tomorrow, by the way, in transit today, coming back on his way back from Singapore. We're all over the weekly pivot here. I do see some upside to the daily pivot, but I'm not hanging out for it, I don't think. If I do see this significant lower high on a 4-hour chart, that may get me interested, but the 30 doesn't look that promising. That doesn't look so bad, although the preceding bar, I hate to trade these two dojis back to back, doesn't do me any good at all. And there's still an untested daily pivot, so I'm not that keen to get into Aussie yen at this point. The reason I'm concentrating a lot on the Aussie pairs, of course, is that I'm steering clear as much as I can from the pound and to some degree the euro as well, whilst this Brexit thing plays out again today. I will, however, take a quick look at the euro and the pound. Let's do that. Euro's doing pretty much exactly as we anticipated that it might. Sadly, again, for me last week, I had a shocker last week. Timing was absolutely up to crap. My market entry timing was up to crap. So I was looking for the long here above this candle. And again, what I call the porcupine got me. High test, low test, back to back, hate the trading. But I did. And I thought the pivots were a foregone conclusion. But as always, foregone conclusions are not what you need to be trading, or certainly not need to be putting your house on them. I couldn't see how this couldn't get to the pivots, frankly. And I was right, but it cost me because I didn't take into consideration that there would be some downside before that. I'm not sure what drove that. That was on Friday, and that was on Thursday. Not sure what drove that, but it drove me, and I didn't get a TP1. And of course, as you can see, we are now in a bit of a bull move, it would appear, because Friday's candle was a ball terror. Absolutely took off, as did quite a few of the countries as well. So we actually put in a lower low, rather than trading this higher low. But still it is in a little bit of a bullish sequence, so there's no reason to think this can't go higher from a technical point of view. Again, we are in the midst of a vote today, so anything could happen. If I'm really serious about trading this today, I'm thinking pull back to the daily pivot, then long, but only to here. So I really wouldn't be looking to trade that on probably a 4-hour chart. I'll be looking to trade it on a smaller time frame. So maybe pull back to here, maybe even to the monthly pivot, and then look for a trade, but only to here with any serious money on the table, and even not too serious at that given the circumstances. But here I see as definitely a major take profit level, and maybe leave a little bit open to see if it actually can go. Who knows? These votes may cast you into the stratosphere and you'll be a happy chappy. But at this point in time, I guess we've had a price at the daily pivot already today. I'd rather think that the daily pivot came to price than the reverse of that. And I much prefer to see price come to the daily pivot, then take off if it is to do so. So for that reason, I'm not willing to jump in long here at this point. And I am, of course, very mindful of the Brexit situation. So short before long, maybe. We'll see. Now, cable's been on a tear, as we all know, coming off the bottom here. Beautiful double bottom, if you like, and that same rejection bar as I spoke about on the Aussie, which was emotive, and they go. My memory's good, isn't it? I can't remember what that circumstance was. Somebody opened their mouth about something, but it was more rumour than fact, and we found that the market said, no, we won't have any of that. And on the back of a bullish engulfing bar, a big bullish hammer, we were all, every single one on the planet, I think, who's a trader, was looking to get in long here. The daily wave rider people, did I know? Hopefully you were among those. I looked at this candle here and decided not to take it. That's, again, typical of the week I had last week. As I said, it was an absolute shocker. And missed that entry. Now, in many ways, I'm happy that I did do what I did. I'm not happy that I missed the entry, of course, but I'm happy I didn't take the first opportunity. I may be sad about that down the track, of course. I think, the way I like to trade is to have something that's a little bit more pronounced than that as a higher low. I'd like to see a swing, something of that nature. And it just didn't come, or hasn't come yet, let me put it that way. It's not that it won't or can't, it's just that it hasn't. And for mine, I haven't been able to find that real swing as a higher low that I've been looking for to make me think that this can and will go long. If it does, then I'm absolutely all over that. as well, pending, of course, what happens next in Brexit negotiations, well, not so much negotiations, as the vote in Parliament, which apparently is happening around about, what did I say, 1900. Was it 1900? Yeah. Or they're debating at 1900 and the vote takes place then, that's right, something like that. Okay, so let's put all that together, shall we? So looking for pullbacks on both the euro and the pound. Big one on the pound, looking for a big pullback. A little one here I don't think suits me at all. I'm looking for something major. Where to? Maybe, I don't know, there's a great level, to be fair. Definitely down to 130, 40, down to this area, definitely. That's not real major either. Maybe it needs to come back down here for me. That looks like a better level, which is around about 127.85. Let's call it 128, shall we? So that's where I'd like to see this retrace to, then give me that higher low. And maybe we can consider jumping in at that point. But not for me right now. Pound yen, let's have a look at that. I did say the yen was holding its own, if not a little stronger, over the last little bits. We haven't really come to what I consider to be the obvious resistance level at which to trade this short. But that said, if we can get back below this level, this yellow line, which is around about 143.60, let's say, which is where we are currently, but also the weekly pivot, and then retest both of those from the bottom, or the underside, if you like, that then makes me a little bit on the back of the bears. For how long? Well, yeah, look, probably down to the monthly pivot, I would have thought. How would I trade that? Well, I need to see a couple of things before I do trade that, because the market is clearly bullish at present and has been for 1, 2, 3, fourth week now, or entering our fourth week now. So I'd like to see some form of reversal here. The daily chart's not giving me that just yet. The 4-hour chart is also not giving me that yet. So I don't have a clear signal here that says this is about reverse at any stage. So it's going to be tough to trade it. So really what I need to see is price to get back up to here, take on this high and fail again, and thereby give me a double top, for instance, or even another reversal pattern here of any kind, and then a lower high. I'm talking a long time into the future here. Perhaps, where are we, Tuesday, perhaps Thursday, something like that. And not so much fear, but the reality, of course, is that probably pound yen won't be in this vicinity at that point. Well, it may well be, but the vote may change its course dramatically and quickly. So, what I'm envisaging here over time may not get the opportunity to develop. But if it does, in particular, if it does exactly as I'm saying, in spite of the vote, then it becomes a far stronger signal from one if we do get that double top there. So that's what I'll be looking for. In the meantime, you just want to be buying the dips, wouldn't you, at the moment? And I dare say there are a lot of people that are looking to do just that right now. I'm not one of them at this point, but I can definitely make a case for it. There's no doubt about that, especially off the weekly pivot. Okay, we've got new 30-minute candles as the market opens. I'm just going to take a quick look at those before we do anything else. There's the double top on the euro. So perhaps a lower high here gets interesting. I wouldn't want to be trading into the daily pivot though, without profit in the bank, and not that keen. So yeah, it's a waiting game on the euro. Cable, very much a waiting game by default because of the news, but let's have a look see anyway. big bearish engulfing, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, equal high. Nothing there that compels me to go, okay, we've got to trade this, except to say it's a horrible reward to risk here. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm seeing, frankly, is a break here. But two things wrong with it. I'm trading into the high of the day without profit, trading into the daily pivot with a very poor reward to risk available. So that's not for me either. And as I said, I'm not ready to go along the pound yet until we've got that major retracement. So nothing there. The Aussie, yeah, look, that's the hourly chart. Let me have a look at the 30. Yeah, same. If I wanted to trade this long, there's no reward available here to an untested daily pivot. We could simply hit that and bounce. So no inclination to trade it. Aussie yen, let me have a look at that in the 30-minute chart. Yeah, same issue. If I go back a couple of candles, I wouldn't mind trading that bar there. Very small, and I don't have room to take profit. Again, trading into the high of the day. So no. Pound yen, I don't really want to look at it. Lovely little cycle going on here, isn't there? Now perhaps a double bottom. We can take a look at that later maybe, but we'll be getting closer to news the further we wait or the longer we wait. This one here, Euro Yen. Yeah, look, been in a sideways trajectory for quite some time. I might actually put a rectangle around this. Where is the range? This is the trouble we were having before, was just trying to isolate the exact consolidation area. I'm going to go with this. Probably a little lower. I'll go with that. Looks like a very narrow band because of this big candle here, but once we get rid of that, that will come into a far sharper focus. And what are we looking at here? False breakouts, and then into consolidation straight away. Don't like that at all. What I'd like to see here would have been a bearish engulfing bar, perhaps, then a distinct lower high. Not really seeing that, but I will watch this candle and maybe subsequent candles to see if we do get that on the 4-hour chart. On the 30-minute chart, you can see that we've got in the latter part of this consolidation that we've been going through since yesterday. Yes, so 24 hours. Yeah, 24 hours. Let's call it 24 hours. So we've just tried to break back and take this high on, but no dice. We've now got a double top sitting there. I'd like to see the daily pivot tested one more time, then fail here and give me that lower high that I'm looking for. If that were the case, there could well be a short on. Am I willing to trade it long? As I said before, we've got a euro that's rallying. We've got a yen that's been strong over the last 24 hours or so. It's tough to compare these. So just technically, from what I'm seeing, we are back inside that range. Do give me a lower high here. That looks like a lower high, looks like a swing, rather than just noise like this, then maybe. But at the moment, I see no entry. Dollar yen has been on the tumbles, as we know, for a little bit. We've got, we go to the daily chart. Is that far more pronounced? So we've got consolidation after a retracement on the big fall, and now we seem to have settled in around about the weekly pivot area and not going too far from it. Keep rejecting 109.83, or let's call it, well, we'll call it 109.83, I think, because that's what it is. I was going to say let's call it 110, but it's the level's probably there. Maybe it's a bit higher. Maybe it is 110. Yeah, let's go with 110, shall we? That's probably where the level is. And as you can see, we're rejecting that. We've now broken back below the weekly pivot. I think a retest of the weekly pivot here would get me interested in joining in short. That's the daily chart. So if we're thinking weekly pivot retest, I guess we're thinking long to there. I don't know about trading it there, but I'd like to see it there. The daily pivot, obviously, as you can see, is holding price up quite well. And the cycle is very much dominant to the south side. Don't know that we could cause that a bearish engulfing bar. It's close, but again, not sure about this one. Which way I'd like to trade it, to be fair. Yeah, I think if you're thinking gravity and we're really headed south on the bigger picture, it's going to be tough to trade this long. And I don't see any reason to change polarity here. Yes, I can see an attempt by the bulls to get to the daily pivot, which has failed, but I don't see a reversal pattern. I don't see a bullish engulfing bar. I don't see a significant double bottom. This is a new low. No, too tough to trade long for me. So I'll wait for an opportunity to get back in short. Euro CAD, put in a nice double top here, then a lower high. You'd be entitled to be looking to trade that, and you would have failed heavily. As the euro continues to appreciate. Yeah. I guess another failed top here gets me interested, but this is a rank failure, isn't it? I think we might be looking for new highs here today. I would like to have seen the daily pivot tested, that's for sure. But it's looking very much like this wants to go. Does it not? Because that lower high failed, and that's giving me a very bullish signal. Don't want to be on the short side of that right now. Euro Aussie. Yeah, look, that's the pattern that I like to trade, but it's a terrible entry. If I was to trade long here, it's just a shocking entry, and I'm not going to do it. Reason: 20 odd pips reward for 80 odd pips risk. No, not good. Got to have a retracement here, and then consider the long. Would I consider the long? Yeah, sure. We've got a double bottom here. We've got a higher low here. I think another higher low on these pivots does get me interested in. So Euro Aussie not off the cards for me at all. Let me see if that's tradable on the 30-minute chart. Yeah, look, you can be forgiven for taking the daily pivot test on there. I'm looking to trade it long, but perhaps there's a short before there's a long. Probably a safer entry. But you're going to miss the pips. Yeah, I've already missed it anyway, so I'm going to stay out of this, but I can definitely see that as a potential trade. But I'm really looking to go long. I'll let it go if it goes, and if it does, then and gives us a nice entry long, happy days. That's what we'll be looking for. Alrighty, that's just about as much as I'm looking to trade. I'm going to have a look at what a couple of things are doing. If Ash was here, he'd be having a look at the FTSE, of course. I know he's looking to short it last week early. Whether he got in or not, I don't know. And we'll catch up with him tomorrow to find out all of that. I don't trade it and don't know too much about it, so I'm going to stay out. Gold has just gone berserk on Friday with, as I said before, quite a few crosses, or quite a few pairs. This went nuts and took the consolidation out in bang, one fell swoop. A little bit of a doji, and off we go again today. By the look of it, we've now left. Well, we haven't left behind for good, but certainly we've broken 113, and it's hard to see gold slowing down at the moment. Let me just go a little bit wider. Yeah, look, it's broken all this resistance, and next level appears to be there, but it's not a strong level. It's relatively weak. I'd be thinking this is off, and I'd be thinking I'd be okay to 113.50. I think after 13.50 rather, I'd be hanging on for that if I were in the trade, and that has consequences for all sorts of reasons. The one that I find most interesting, and not a lot of people talk about, but I talk about it every time it happens, it tends to drag the Aussie with it. And that's probably one of the reasons I've got two orders on the Aussie at the moment, one on the 4 hour, one on the daily. If you weren't with us earlier, I'll just go through those again. Pardon me. And there's well, actually, they're the same trade, I think. Oh, no, this one's right now. This is the 4 hour chart. So we're trading this bar here. Again, it's a breakout, but I've got my take profit before the absolute high here. I think that's a wise thing to do. So if we get triggered into this, I'm looking for acceleration through to here, get some money off the table, and then let it run. I've got a second take profit here at 45 pips. Pardon me. And I think I'm happy to move my stop to entry at that point. Where the stops are now are really an insignificant level. And the only reason they're there is because I'm trading a bar, not a level. Excuse me, guys, I've got to have a sip of some water. So my risk in terms of pips on this trade is quite small. But of course, it's wide open to a retracement because it really isn't protected by anything, only the brand itself, which is obviously no real use. It didn't do any good in the first instance. So that's why I'm going to take two profits here fairly. I'm going to take half off the table, a little bit better than half when we get to TP1. Then I'm going to move my stops to entry at TP2, and I'm going to get rid of that target. I'll just let this run after that. So there is no take profit on that, although that still says there is. That will catch up in due course. Now the daily, if you're interested in following this, the entry is 72.04. Stop loss is 18 pips. I'm going to take our first profit at 15 pips and close just a bit better than half. Move my stop loss 15 pips from entry, so I can't lose on it. And then I'm going to take profit at 45 and move stops to entry. I'm not going to take any money off the table at 45. I'm just going to move my stops to entry. The daily chart, this is a different set of parameters except for the entry. Entry is exactly the same. So I'm just going to get something off the table. It's different set of risks here. The daily chart is trading this bar here, but I've chosen to put my stop in what I believe to be a far safer place underneath the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot. Though if you look at this bar, it's been willing to go through that level. Maybe I need to amend that to underneath this candle. So I will do that. 71.37. I'm going to move this to 71.35, and it's currently at 71.39. So I've got to move it by 4 pips. So I'll make it 69 pips of stop loss. Modify that, and that gets us underneath that bar. I'm happy with that. Right. So the entry on this is exactly the same as on the 4-hour chart at 0.7204. Stop loss is 69 pips, and our first take profit on this is at 25 pips. Still before the swing high, and I think that again is wise. That's the only profit I'm going to take on this. I'll close 55% at that point and just let the rest run. We'll trail that if we're lucky enough to get clear. We'll just continue to trail that until it don't look too good anymore. Simple as that. So that's where I'm up to. Then the only two orders, they're not trades yet, that I've got in the markets on this account. So really nothing more to do at this point in time. So I'm going to take a little breather, guys, and come back in about 7 or 8 minutes to have a look at the brand new 30-minute candles. Obviously, as always, if there are any questions, just post them in the box. I think I can see them if you put them in there, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because this platform is far different to our normal webinar platforms. You don't have as much control over it. But if you do put something in there, hopefully I'll see it and I'll be able to answer those questions. Alrighty, so a little break for me, and as I say, I'll be back in about 7 or 8 minutes just to prepare for the first 30-minute candle that I trade on a daily basis. I don't like to trade the first 30-minute candle of the UK session, but I do like to trade the second. Let's see how we go. So back in about 7 or 8 minutes, guys. Okay, folks, back with you, and I'm going to have a look at the 30-minute charts as we get near to the bottom of the hour, just to see if there's anything that is tradable. Let's start with the euro, shall we? And again, a little caveat on the euro, meaning that we do have, and I'll repeat these times for you before we wrap up as well. We do have a Brexit vote coming up. UK Parliament on amendments to, I think it's Plan B, or is it Plan A, or Plan goodness knows what. And that will be taking place today, so there'll be question marks over the euro and the pound as to which way they're going to go and how hard they're going to go, and if indeed they're going to go in one direction. So that's the challenge that we've got today ahead of us. And again, I'll repeat those times for you because they're not on the Forex Factory. Don't know if they're on other calendars, but they're certainly not there. Euro looks to be continuing its strength as we go into the second candle. We're just about to go into the second candle. There'll be no trade there for me, of course, at that level. Cable is doing something similar, but in a totally different fashion, or in a totally different part of the chart, isn't it? So we've seen the pound come off, of course, its high yesterday, which was really the high of the weekend, if you like. Friday weekend, a bit of a gap, tried to rally, couldn't take the high, and we've fallen away since then. It's trying to get back there now to the daily pivot. Is there a trade here at all? Are we willing to flip a coin and say that cable is about to crash? Well, if you were of that mindset, you probably could have traded that candle there. I'm really not of a mindset. I just want to get at some stage long into the pound, and I do want to see a big retracement. Whether I'm willing to trade that retracement is dependent on a few things. One of them is not around a Brexit vote. So we're kind of in that zone now. We're a few hours away from it, that's true. But we've got an untested daily pivot above us. We've got a bullish run. Am I willing to trade it short? The answer is no. Aussie US dollar, as I said before the news and earlier, I've got two positions on this, one on the 4-hour chart, one on the daily chart, both of them long, both at 72.04, different stop losses and take profits, of course, on those. I can't trade long now into the daily pivot. It's just way too close, and any risk on this would be very poor reward. What can I do if I'm not willing to trade long here? Can I trade short? Is the question. Look, always a possibility, but it's not a wise move as far as I'm concerned, despite the fact that we have got, I guess, the first significant lower high here. We don't really have, in my mind anyway, a clear reversal pattern here. Maybe you could say that's a bearish engulfing bar on the hourly chart. The 4-hourly chart, however, is not giving me that. It's giving me a little retracement on this bull move back to the pivots. And I see this as an excellent opportunity for this to bounce and take on these highs. And that, of course, is what I'm trading at the moment. That's why I've got these orders in the market. So I just can't, I can't get my head around a short here at the moment. And for that reason, I'm just not looking there. Happy with what I've got. 30-minute chart. If I'm not in the, well, I'm not in them because they're only orders at the moment. So if I'm looking to trade long here, what do I need to see to be actually able to get in? Well, as I said, I can't trade long here because I'm absolutely stymied by the daily pivot, which has a great tendency to turn the market around, if only for a brief period of time. We just don't know where our stops would be safe if that were to be the case. So I can't trade long from here. To trade long today on the 30-minute chart, the only thing that would get me there probably, well, two things really. One, I'd have to see a break and close above the daily pivot, and then a retest of the daily pivot, and preferably this trend line. You can make this trend line wherever you really want it to be. It could be anywhere. That's probably the cleanest of them. So if you can envisage a break above here, then a retest of both the daily pivot and the trend line, that would tempt me to go long. And there's probably room here, as long as we're not too close to this resistance level. So that would be okay to get some profit off the table before you hit these highs or resistance areas. The other way to do it, and by far the better way, in my humble opinion, is to find a trend line that maybe comes from here up through here, and let price come down to here. Find this massive confluence area of monthly pivot, weekly pivot, support trend line. Fail to break through the weekly pivot, so consolidate here at the pivots, get back above this line, retest the confluence area, then that's your long right there as you put a higher low in on this low here. That would be the far better place to take a long here on the 30-minute chart. But if it does set up that way, there's obviously room to get into that move as well from the high side of these pivots after a back test, or I'm talking Ash's language now, after a retest of both the daily pivot and the trend line. So if I'm not in the market already long on the Aussie, then that's what I'd be seeking, one of those two options. But I'm not thinking short here at all at present. Aussie yen chart looks very similar, but there are differences. There is a reversal pattern here on the 30-minute chart. If I go to the bigger time frames, all I can see is really this range that we've been in. But as long as we can identify the top and the bottom of that range, which has been a struggle, to be fair, because they're not standing out. But I think I've probably got it in about the right position. Certainly I'm happy with the short side or the support side. So really, on this chart, I could consider short and the daily pivot tested before I entertained such a thought. On the 4-hourly chart, I'm talking about this area here. So on the 4-hourly chart, what I've got is, well, it's a tweezer top more than a double top, I suppose, but it's kind of there. Not ideal, not great. Then I've got a bearish engulfing bar. Then I've got a lower high. And I think a lower high here does get me interested now that we've come back inside this range. So I've got to get price up to here, though. I can't trade it short from here because I haven't got the retracement on the first move short that I want. And I want it back to here. I need to test something. And the top of the range in the daily pivot is the ideal posies for that to take place. So that's the 4-hour chart. Yes, I'm willing to trade short, but not just yet. So I need to wait until I get this this area here tested. Pound yen, look, again, going back to the fact that we've got a Brexit vote coming up, I'm absolutely reticent to jump into any pound crosses at the moment. If I'm forced to say where it's going, then I'm going to say I can see an untested daily pivot and I can see an untested weekly pivot. So even if there were no extenuating circumstances, I think I'd like to see one of those things take place first before I called this. If I'm honest with my bias, I've got to be thinking retracement for pound, and I've got to be thinking what I discovered earlier in the session, and that was that the yen is holding its own, if not a little bit strong. So I've really got to be thinking this is going short at some stage. But with the untested daily pivot, it's really tough to go short. So get that out of the road. Maybe even a reversal bar off the daily pivot gets me interested. But the closer it gets to this vote, the less inclined I am to trade the pound. The euro is not dissimilar. Not as critical in my mind as the pound, but very, very similar. But it really is rallying and going gangbusters in the last 24 hours or so. And, well, 36 hours, I suppose. No, there's a little doji there yesterday. Make that, I'll call it 40 hours, if you like. Certainly Friday's bar was a big bull bar. That'll do. That's probably a better description. But it was on a few crosses as well, a few indices as well. So that looks to, or the want of the market, or the sentiment of the market seems to be that wants to continue, that flavour, if you like. And who am I to say no? The interesting part is that we're breaking out of this area here now, this range that we've been in. So when that happens, generally what I seek is not trade the breakout, but to trade the false break. So I'd like to see price do as it's done here and fail. I'd even like to see it fail before this high, then come back under here, give me the lower high, then I can look to trade it to the bottom, and that on any time frame, frankly. That would do. The smaller the time frame, the better, actually. But at the moment, you just got to let it go. Dollar yen, yeah, I don't know. I reckon we've been to 110, haven't we? We really have been to 110. So I'm going to count that as a rejection of 110. I'm going to count that as a reversal. I'm going to say weekly pivot back test here, or retest of the weekly pivot, does get me interested short. Or really any lower high here does get me interested short. Daily chart's not going to give it to me today, or it's not going to give me an entry today, that's for sure. The 4-hour chart's going to struggle to do it as well. It's got a little bit of work to do. The 30-minute charts, yeah, I don't see it as a possibility either. So if you're already short dollar yen, happy days. I don't think there's anything to do as long as you've got your stops, in a reasonable position. I wouldn't like to have my stops here, because I think we can certainly rally to this level and then look for the short. But still nothing there in terms of the trade right now. We put in a new high on Euro CAD, but we've got an untested daily pivot here. That always spooks me. What I'll be looking for here, this may be tradable actually, not right now. But we have broken, have we got a new high? Pretty close. Oh. I'm going to say it's an equal high. What I'd like to see is this candle close above the trend line, and then another one close above the trend line, and then that, after a little bit of consolidation, a nice bearish bar brings us underneath here, takes out that resistance area, former resistance area. So close here, then a retest of the trend line, or even the highs, a retest of the highs. Then I can trade it short, taking profit probably at the lows and getting out. No, I'd let this go actually. I think this has got room. Definitely taking something off the table in this vicinity. Maybe a second profit at the weekly pivot, and then let it run. That's where I'd be looking for Euro CAD. And finally, Euro Aussie. Yeah, look, the trade was here, really. The trade was off this candle. But there may be a second opportunity to trade this short through the pivots if that's your inclination. I don't know that it is for me, but the one thing I do see is pretty clear that we have come back underneath a broken monthly pivot and we've retested it. So if there was to be an entry, that was it for sure with that candle there. And your target's obvious in these two pivots. Unfortunately, I have missed that. And even if we got to here, I don't know that I'd be willing to take that on. Depend on the candle, I suppose. A risk of maybe 12 pips to 224, that would get me interested. So, you know, a low test bar sitting here, it's about 12 pips, 15 tops, does get me interested. I may look to join that and trade it down to the pivots, but only to the pivots. I don't see this as a big move to the south. We shall see. Guys, I don't know that there's any point in me going any further today. I've kind of given everything I'm looking at. There's that daily pivot test that cable's given us. That's good. If you're looking to trade cable, I'm not until after this announcement. That's what I was going to do, wasn't it? I was going to give you the timings on that announcement or on that vote. Let me do that before we go any further. Okay, right, there are 19 amendments to this plan, whether it's A, B, C or D, I don't know. There are 19 amendments to that, which will go before Parliament today. The Speaker at around 1300 GMT, which is now about, 3 hours and a quarter away from now, will select the 6 most popular of those amendments for debate and vote. So they will vote after a debate of the 6 most popular amendments to Theresa May's A or B. I don't know which one it is, frankly. And then they will vote at approximately 1900 GMT. So that's about 10 hours away from now, 10 and a quarter hours away from now. So if you're trading pound and euro, you've probably got a little bit of time up your sleeve before you need to tighten ranks or close ranks and get your stops in the right posse and get safe in the market. But the Speaker will make that selection at 1300 GMT, and the vote will begin at 1900 GMT. Tip to take around about an hour and a half before all of those amendments have been voted on and potentially a result will be semaphored. So there we go. That's the major event of the day, and by gee, I'm going to be glad when it's all over. I've got to say, I'm absolutely up to here with it, and can't wait it's over. Okay, if you're just joining us, only 2 positions that I'm taking at this moment. Nothing on the 30-minute charts. The 4-hour chart, yes, on the Aussie. We've got, I'll just start with the daily. On the daily chart on the Aussie, we've got an entry at 72.04. We're trading this bar here. We're trading the break of that bar there, but I'll put my stop loss underneath the current daily candle. Okay, so entry is 72.04. Stop loss is 69 pips. At 25 pips, I'm going to take profit off the table. That's before we hit this high. I'm going to take half off, a bit more than half off the table at that point, and just let the rest go. On the 4-hour chart, same cross, Aussie US dollar. On the 4-hour chart, I'm trading this bar here, tiny little bar. It's only 18 pips of stop loss. So I'm trading the break of that at exactly the same level as the daily chart, but I'm going to get my profit off the table at 15 pips. So before these highs. And again, I'm going to close 55% of that position. And I've got a target on this that I thought I took off. I will take the target off. I have taken it off. So I don't have a target, but at at 45 pips, I'm going to move my stop to entry. Not take anything off the table, just move my stop to entry. So 15 pips, TP1, take 55% off, and at 45 pips, move stops to entry, and hope the Aussie just goes nuts. That'd be pretty cool. Only two positions I have, guys, at the moment. We've got, what have we got? We've got evening TTR coming up in about 40 minutes from now, and the crew will be in. We've got Julian talking, we've got myself, we've got Paul B. I think Paul Hutton's joining us, not sure. We've got Chloe in, I think she's just jumped off a plane, but will be joining us. And all sorts of wonderful topics to talk about, I'm sure. Hope you can join us then. If not, Ash and I will be back tomorrow to do the UK session from 3:30 Sing, 6:30 Aussie, or Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and 7:30 UK AM, that is. Have a wonderful day. Hope your trades go well, and we look forward to catching up to you real soon. Bye-bye for now.